Welcome to an all-new episode here of Underground Florida. Today we got the one and only Liam from all the way from Australia, from Idol Ruin. Liam, thank you very much for tuning in, brother. Can't believe we're doing this. We've been supporting each other since a few weeks now. It's pretty fucking great. So Liam, first of all, how's everything in Australia? How's everything doing with the coronavirus going on?
Yeah, not too bad. Where I'm living at the moment, it's starting to cool down a bit. We've actually had a bit of a cold snap in our home city this week, and like you guys, the state I live in is also known as the Sunshine State, so we're known for a lot of warm weather and stuff. So
of course,
it's actually strangely cold this week.
My boy Liam, Idol Ruin, which is a very interesting name for a band, especially when it comes to the genre. You have a mixture of thrash and also a little bit of death metal into it. Just tell me a little bit more of how the band became to be and how you guys reached out to the point of how you guys formed your very first EP.
I've been playing in a number of bands around my hometown of Brisbane over the last 10-15 years. I used to play in a new wave of thrash band called Malachite. We were doing pretty well until we weren't. After that, all sort of folded. I played in a few different local bands around the area. A couple of sort of extreme metal bands. Like one was a grindcore group, another black metal bands. So my interest started to change from just being straight traditional thrash metal to a bit more sort of death metal and sort of darker influence as well. Around this time last year, a lot of the bands that I was in, they were sort of winding down or just ending, and my partner and I at the same time, we were actually planning on moving to the UK, and then coronavirus happened, stopped us from doing that. I thought, well, if we're going to be stuck here, I'm going to just record a couple of songs. These were a bunch of songs that I've been writing sort of in the interim during the bands that I was playing in. There was this project that I wanted to start for myself, one day.
Right.
I thought, okay, well, it's always one day. I'm going to record a demo. By the time I go to the UK, I'm going to put together a lineup. But coronavirus lasts a little bit longer than anticipated, so the guys that I had helping me out with the demo that eventually became the EP, we thought, well, let's stick this out. Once restrictions ease, we'll play a couple of shows. And here we are. We've got our new bass player Tim, who's joined up, and we're in the middle of recording another EP. So what started off as kind of a solo project has become more of a band. So yeah.
I just want to hear, in your personal opinion, your experience over the 15 years playing in the underground music, how far have you seen the metal scene in Australia move on over the years?
I'd say it's reached an all-time high in the last few years. I think thanks to social media, bands are finally getting their audience.
Right.
There's no barrier anymore between us and the rest of the world. Whereas back in the 80s, like when Mortal Sin, you mentioned them, a lot of that was purely through tape trading and shipping, records overseas. And you had to have the best label, you had to have the best distributor. Now it's all internet. It's so much easier to find your audience.
Yeah.
Even bands that are not signed to big labels, like they're doing it themselves, but they're still getting out there. They're still doing really well. I've actually, in preparation for this interview, I actually got a few of my old Aussie metal vinyl collection here. This is Armored Angel. This is their semi-generic vinyl that they released.
Nice.
And this is Parliament from 1988. They were the first Australian band to be on Metal Blade. And Nothing Sacred from Melbourne. They were another 80s thrash band. A lot of people think of they know Mortal Sin, but Mortal Sin weren't the only thrash band that we had in the 80s. And I think there were a lot of great bands that were just as good as Mortal Sin that don't get enough attention, in my opinion.
Most people never talks about Australia. They never talk about let's say in Ireland, they never mention these countries that also impacted and were embraced with the passion of the underground metal scene. I want to know exactly about how you witness or how you seeing social media. We're seeing a lot of bands that are starting to progress. They're learning to get to know a lot more into the industry when it comes to the underground scene. I want to know in your point of view, have Idol Ruin has gone through a difficult process where people never understood what you guys were doing based upon your music? And if so, What things can you advise for the other bands locally in Australia and worldwide on how to properly market yourself by using the social media platform?
In my experience, it's about creating. I mean, social media unto itself is about community. It's an online community, and I think you need to be engaging with your fans. You need to make them feel included. You need to make them feel like they're part of the game as well. What I do for a day job is I work in tech, and one of the biggest aspects of tech is a thing called user experience. I've talked about this in a few interviews before, and I think it can be easily applied to being a musician or being a creative. If you can make your presence online engaging, a lot of bands out there, and I'm not trying to diss any bands, there are some bands out there that put amazing music out, but that's all they do. They just put music out and they're like, here's our record, throw it out into the open
media, yeah.
And then they wonder, oh, why aren't people, we put all this hard work into it, why aren't people coming towards us? I'm sorry, well, this is where the hard work really begins. You gotta hustle that shit. You gotta talk to people. You gotta talk to people like yourselves. It's a lot of give and take. Try and be as engaging to your fans as possible. Post engaging content. Just get out there, scratch people's backs. They'll scratch. You never know. They'll scratch your back too.
And I'm really glad you said something interesting, because we're not seeing a lot of bands that has that variety of that the drummers are the ones that are singing. I mean, I've seen that a lot with Chris Reither from Autopsy. That's how I distinguish of saying, holy shit, a drummer is actually singing. Like, this is something new for me. You don't see that every much. It's either the bass player, the guitarist, rhythm guitarist, or even just the vocalist itself. What I want to know is that have you ever witnessed some people coming towards you, the fans have ever come towards you, expressing themselves of how they feel when they listen to your EP, and have they ever approached you by saying that music itself has helped them to face against the most difficult times of their life, when it comes to depression, when it comes to financial crisis, family issues, anything in society's behavior? Has fans ever come toward you and thank you for those good vibes that you give to the audience?
I don't think so. I mean, if they have felt that way about any music that I've written, awesome. No, I don't think I've had any fans come up to me and express that. But I do, with a lot of the songs on the Idle Ruin EP were written. I'm not very good at writing personal lyrics,
right? But
I did write them from a personal context, but I kind of wrote it in a way that anyone could relate to. Right. So it's just like, hey, anyone who's been in the same situation before can relate, kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe if I have, awesome. But no one's actually come up and expressed that to me. But never know, maybe one day.
So has the lyrics that you've created over the years, has it been upon reflecting on everything that's going on in society's behavior? And if so, what do you think of it?
Yeah, we have a song called Spiritual Contagion. Well, I wrote the lyrics to that pretty much the week lockdown happened, and it was reflective of a lot of religious people believing that if they just simply prayed the virus away, it would go. But there was a report of some of these religious people, that had told people, hey, if you just pray the virus away, it'll leave you alone. They themselves get sick from the very same virus.
Right.
It was about that. And it's just like, you've misled all these people, and now you're sick. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? And in my previous band, Malachite, we had a song called Media Suicide, which was just critical of news media and all that sort of stuff. Just trying to think. I do like to write more about the real evils in the world than write anything in a more fantastical sense, just blood, death, Satan, blah, blah, blah. There are plenty of bands out there that I love that do that, but I just don't.
There's a concept. There's a good variety of messages when it comes to the fantasy concept, because it's just some people out there, they just expect you to do, or any musician, they expect you write something that's related to reality. When I say not necessarily, because reality is that the world, it is what it is. There's a balance between bullshitters and those that tries to bring peace and gives you a beer and say, hey, let's just chill, listen to music, and respect each other. Of course, you are aware, everybody is aware, that Florida is the birthplace of death metal. Either Sweden.
We're gonna talk about that.
Exactly. Even Sweden has always been, in my opinion, that country that was more technical, and I respect Sweden for that, because if it wasn't for Sweden's death metal in some way, the technicality of death metal wouldn't be what it is to this day, which beyond a lot of bands like Black Dahlia Murder or fucking Beyond Creation, all these bands that are just blasting with a lot of great technicality. But what really excites you of making Idle Ruin saying, I want to add some death metal elements to this band? What really captivated you of saying, I really want to try more death metal because I've been already done with thrash metal, let's try something different? What really brought you that attention to say, let's make it as death metal?
It wasn't a conscious decision of being like, okay, I'm just going to make a death metal.
Right.
I know every band says this. I wanted to write the songs that I wanted to hear.
Right.
But I also wanted to write. I didn't want to write just a batch of songs that were conforming to a genre. Right. I wanted to write good songs. I just wanted to write good songs that put a blast beat here, we put a D beat here, we put some screams here. It was really I was writing with kind of like the audience in mind, because I hadn't played live in so long. I'm just thinking, okay, I'm going to imagine the audience. I'm going to imagine how they're going to react to this.
Right.
And Devil's Trade, for example, that is, in my opinion, the perfect beat to headbang to. So I just wrote something to that. But I do love a lot of Floridian death metal. I also love a lot of early Australian death metal. So bands like Slaughterlord, you heard of them?
Yep.
Yeah. Possessed, even a lot of the South American stuff like Pentagram from Chile and all those kinds of bands. I love that sort of visceral aspect where it was basically like all these bands being like, okay, let's take it up a notch, let's play something thrashy, but let's just make it even faster and
more aggressive. Yes,
and more aggressive. So it was more about the aggression and the feeling of aggression, and just creating a good riff. I wasn't trying to be original or anything. I was just trying to be good. I was trying to write good songs with focus on the song and focus on the riff and focus on how would I enjoy this if I was in the pit headbanging along to it as well. So to me, it wasn't a conscious decision to maybe feel like I'm just going to make a death metal. I just wanted to write good shit.
and something really interesting you said, which leads to this question. You did state it upon the aggression of the genre, which obviously that's what death metal kind of like demonstrates more. It's the aggression. Is it more of the aggression that you were seeking upon of saying, with aggression on death metal, adapting it to Idle Ruin, maybe it gives me more creativity to write songs. It gives me more creativity to come up with any riffs related to a song. Like, does the aggression of the genre makes you write a lot more easier and much more quicker?
In hindsight, I'm going to agree with you. Looking back, the aggression of death metal did open more sort of doors in terms of songwriting. Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you in hindsight with that one.
Yeah, because I heard exactly the element of what you did applying to Idle Ruin. I said they have a vibe of an Entombed or a Dismember vibe, which is really good. Though we have to respect the true ones, the big ones. But inspiration comes very important with every band worldwide, and that comes to this as well. Why do you think it's very important to support your local scene and local bands?
Yeah, well, I mean, just like that meme that goes around, it's like your favorite band was a local band once.
Right.
But yeah, we have a very varied local scene here in Brisbane, which is the town I live in. We actually have quite a thriving music scene, just generally. Like, we have one of the world's first punk bands came from Brisbane, the Saints.
Yep.
We didn't really have much of a metal scene until the 90s because we had quite an oppressive local government at the time who just shut down all the gigs. The local community in Brisbane especially, like, I think what you're asking me is valid, but I think it's also very contextual. The local community in Brisbane, because we have that fragility, any venue could close any minute.
Right.
especially now during coronavirus. Like, we've got gigs happening again, but they're all limited. So, which is going back on what I'm saying, because there's such a fragility to our local scene, we go out and support it.
Right.
We go out to the next gig as soon as we can, because we want the gigs to keep going. It's just that regulation.
Right.
And we have some great quality bands here in Brisbane, but unfortunately not a lot of them make great inroads interstate or even overseas. We've had some excellent bands that just, they start up, they have some amazing promise, they don't really capitalize on it, or they don't push to the next level, or they lack a lot of the industry know-how to get to the next level or whatever. But in Melbourne and Sydney and even Adelaide, we've got a lot of great bands, but I've always felt like Brisbane's always been the odd one out.
Right.
In Australia, some great bands that are coming out at the moment, Pestilence, Puncture Wound, and more death metal, and Odious, who are another sort of thrash band, and they've been amazing bands, and we always come to each other's gigs and stuff and support each other, and because our city is quite small, it's very incestuous as well, so like you might even have members of one band playing in about 2 other bands. Guilty. So, that was a pretty convoluted answer, but I hope you get something out of that.
Oh, I did, and I enjoyed the last part. There is a question regarding about the genre death metal, and I'm pretty sure you have heard of one of the interviews I've done, but it is time for you to give me your honest opinion about it. So, in your personal opinion, and if you choose, you can elaborate of why, which is the first death metal record? Was it Scream Bloody Gore or Seven Churches?
If our bass player Tim was here right now, he's going to hate me for the answer. I don't think it's either of them.
Okay, and why is that?
I think it's Endless Pain by Creator.
Okay, that's something. But, this is something interesting.
If Tim was here though, he would say Scream Bloody Gore because he loves death so much. Right. And we had this discussion actually at band rehearsal the other night, and I said, I think Possessed have more of a lead on that, and they're like, no, it's not that. But I think either Creator's not extreme aggression, Pleasure to Kill, or Endless Pain are a third contender in that.
That is pretty interesting, because a lot of people never saw Creator as a death metal band or a death thrash. They always seem like a brutal thrash metal. Which, now that you mention Endless Pain, it does have a little bit of that aggression, not extreme aggression, but the exact aggression, which is really interesting. I really do love that answer. So that makes a very interesting relation that you have a different mindset of not being one of those people that fights over Scream Bloody Gore or Seven Churches, which is a great thing.
Tim and Caleb are probably just being,
like, no. But it's your honesty, which counts a lot. I do have some 3 questions from fans that actually sent to me before we started with the interview. First things first is if there's any chance you would come to the States, here in the United States, and if so, what would be the first state would you guys tour on?
Well, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to tour the US. We've been in regular contact with 2 amazing upcoming bands from the United States, To the Dogs and Pagan Impaler.
Yes.
And hey guys, if you're listening. And date. That's a tough one. There's a really amazing extreme metal festival that I'm aware of called Maryland Death Fest.
Yes.
That one's cool. That would be cool to play. But yeah, that's a hard one actually. I've been to the United States only once, and I visited California. I hear. Oh, let's just say Florida. We'll play in your living room. How's that sound?
I mean, you're welcome. You're welcome to come to Florida anytime. The second question would be, what do you think about the situation that David Ellefson is in?
Oh God.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
I hate when these questions happen, but I'm
sorry for his wife.
That's one, yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't know too much about that one. Actually, I just saw that it happened. I'm just like, oh fuck.
And I'm pretty sure he's not one of your biggest. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure Megadeth is one of your biggest influences on making a band, right, or being a musician. I would say.
I used to dig Megadeth when I was in high school, and when the Saint Anger album came out, I'm just like, okay, what's the competition got to offer? I'm like, oh, I actually enjoy this more, but I don't really listen to them that much these days. But I mean, I acknowledge the influence they had on me in my early days. But
third question. Ooh, this one's from Argentina. They say they actually dig your EP and they wish you can come here to Argentina and actually make the underground metal scene in Argentina much more elaborated than what it was. I mean, yeah, touring South America will be really good for you guys. Not gonna lie.
We've had a lot of great responses in South America. We'd love to. Once we can, let's work on that shit.
There we go. And this question comes from me as well. Which is the metal scene that you visualize Ida Ruin to be a part of? Do you visualize it in the American scene? Do you visualize it a lot more? Like when it comes to expanding a little bit more of representing Australia, would you see yourself in the UK? Would you see it some part in Europe? Central America, South America, North America? Where do you visualize, or how do you guys visualize Ida Ruin to expand? Their creativity and representing the metal scene in Australia.
That's a hard one. Because like I said, I was planning on moving to the UK last year, but that didn't happen. The idea was to try and start the band there and branch out to Europe and stuff. But we've had some excellent response in South America. Ideally, yes, I'd love to branch out to Europe more.
Right.
We're getting more and more response in South America. And if that's the way it goes, I mean, sweet. They're very passionate about the metal down there, and it's really cool to see.
Most definitely. And I can't agree with you because I really want to see Ida Ruin expand a lot more, and more bands yet to come, because there's a lot more bands I need to check out and listen to what they got. Before this interview is over, is there any message would you like to give to the young audience and the young bands that are starting with their projects on keeping themselves moving forward, and also what best advice can you give them to keep on working harder with their material?
I think now's probably one of the best times, despite the obvious, to be working on new creative projects, whether it's music, film, art, comics, whatever it is you do in your creative endeavor. We have time to do it. Take the opportunity as best as you can. And like I was saying earlier, learn how to engage with your audience, learn how to make them laugh.
There you go.
That's actually one of the best sort of tactics we've had with our social media is in terms of engagement is just having a good time and making sure our fans have a good time with us and making them feel a part of it. That's the best I can offer. Is check out the Anti-Social podcast on Spotify. He talks a lot about that with a lot of the bands that he interviews. It's an Australian podcast, but pretty much every band that he interviews, he says that. So
can we hear that on Spotify?
On Spotify, yes, correct.
There you have it, guys. Liam just confirmed it, and if you don't do it, shit out of luck for you guys. Thank you very much, man. I'm gonna have to let you go because you got a lot of work to do and a lot more projects to come. Cheers to you. Cheers to the scene of Australia. So be sure to get Ida Ruin's EP. If you don't do it, then
get fucked, mate.
Get fucked, mate. Definitely. Australian way.
Thank you very much, mate. Good to talk to you.
Take care, brother.